everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. Today we're going to cover the grammar pattern that is the dictionary form of a verb plus the other word, beki, to mean should do verb. So this is going to be a really commonly used grammar pattern, and basically when it's used, it's just being used to express that the speaker of the sentence has a strong judgment that a certain entity should perform a certain action, which is going to be the verb that we're going to use with the grammar pattern. So a few little details before we move on to the example sentences. When we're using this grammar pattern, the construction is such that we're not going to conjugate the verb that we use in any form away from its dictionary form. If we want to convey a certain form or a certain tense for our statement, what we're going to do is we're going to provide the respective conjugation of des right after the word beki. So basically what we'll have is the dictionary form of the verb plus the word beki. Then there'll be des if we want it to be positive affirmative, or dewanai if we want it to be negative, or data if we want it to be in the plain past, and so on. Also, this grammar pattern kind of has a special rule when we use it with the very common verb suru, which means to do. When we do this, we're either going to have suru beki or su beki, and both of these are going to be perfectly grammatically correct, but suru beki is the more conversational common one, and su beki is considered more formal. And so with those little tidbits of information covered, now let's just jump into some examples and get a better idea of this grammar pattern. So for our first sentence, we have a pretty simple line. We just have the sentence, George Washington ni ayamaru beki da. And what this line will translate to is just simply, you should apologize to George Washington. Let's break down the sentence bit by bit. First up, we just have George Washington. It's going to be George Washington, and this is going to be the indirect object of our sentence, because here the subject of the sentence is going to be implied, and it's going to be implied to be you or anata or something like that. So since George Washington is the indirect object, we're going to mark him with the particle ni. And now we're going to provide our verb that is used that has an indirect object to it, and this is going to be the verb ayamaru, which means to apologize. Here it's just going to be in its dictionary form because that's what it needs to be used in this grammar pattern. So right after ayamaru, the dictionary form verb, we're just going to have beki. That's the default phrasing for this grammar pattern basically. Then we're just going to have da right after that. It's going to be the plain form conjugation of the word des, and this is going to denote affirmative present tense form. So ayamaru beki is going to be should apologize. Combine that with George Washington ni, and then end the sentence with da, and it's just going to be you should apologize to George Washington. George Washington ni ayamaru beki da. For our next example sentence, we're going to do something kind of special. We're going to use this grammar pattern, but what we're going to do is we're going to use it to modify a noun as opposed to just stating a sentence that is a complete sentence. So for our line, we have the sentence, Kyou no suru beki koto wa subete shita. And what this line will translate to is just basically, I have done all the things that I need to do today. Let's break down the sentence bit by bit. First up, we have kyou, which is going to translate to today. We're going to be using the noun of a noun modification, so kyou no. So the first noun is going to be kyou, and then we have the particle no to instigate this noun of a noun modification. And now the second noun is going to be koto, but first, before we review koto, it kind of has some other stuff modifying it too, which is the grammar pattern, and it's going to be suru beki. So of course, suru means to do, so suru beki is basically should do. And since it's modifying a noun here, it's basically just going to turn koto, which means things, into should do things, or things I should do. We can now interpret that as the second noun in the noun of a noun modification, so kyou no suru beki koto is going to be the things I should do of today, so basically just today's things that I should do. We're going to mark those things as the topic of the sentence with the particle wa. Then right after that we have subete shita, and subete is just going to translate to basically all, and then shita is just going to mean basically to do in the past plain tense, so did. And so altogether what that will be is just I did all the things I need to do today. Kyou no suru beki koto wa subete shita. For our last example sentence, we're going to use this grammar pattern in the negative form as well as the past form. So our line is Sono class o toru beki jyanakatta, and this is going to translate to just I shouldn't have taken that class. Let's break down the sentence bit by bit. First up, we have sono, which means that. We have kurasu, which is going to translate to class. We have the direct object particle o, marking class as direct object of the verb toru, which means to take. And so toru is the dictionary form of the verb. We're going to use this in the grammar pattern. So we have toru beki. Then right after beki, we're going to be doing the negative plain past form of the verb des, which is going to turn into jyanakatta. And so since it's the negative past, and it's going to be should not have. Should not have what? Well, this is modifying toru, which means to take, so should not have taken. Should not have taken what? Well, the direct object we know is going to be the class, so I should not have taken that class is what the sentence is saying altogether once again. Sono class o toru beki janakatta. And so yeah, that is how we're using the grammar pattern dictionary form of a verb plus the phrasing beki plus the respective conjugation of des, or if you're using it to modify a noun, then no conjugation of des basically, to mean should do verb. And this is a pretty common grammar pattern. It does bear a lot of resemblance in meaning and function to some other grammar patterns, but you'll hear this very often as well, so it is definitely good to know. And the good thing is that it's pretty simple. We just have to play around with the dictionary form of verbs.